For fans who only watch the sometimes disappointing anime of One Punch Man, you haven't yet been acquainted with the infamous Blast, who is also the #1 ranked S-Class hero. Sure, you remember him being absent from the S-Class meeting in Season 1, and you probably heard about him fighting Elder Centipede in Season 2, as well as the Hero Association executives demanding his cooperation in rescuing Waganma in Episode 1 of Season 3. But beyond that, he could just be walking around in the background of every scene and you'd have no idea. He's not, by the way, but here's your chance to find out more about the Mystery Man and why Tatsumaki looks up to him. Now, I won't pretend like we know about Blast's childhood, but we do know that he's been working as a hero for a long time. In fact, 20 years ago, he and Empty Void, the head of the ninja village, had been hunting the god entity's cubes to slow down its plans. Not only do those cubes allow the mysterious god to gain more leverage, but more minions to work for it, should they accept the power within the devices. And for that reason, Blast and a group of intergalactic beings have been trying to understand what exactly the cubes are. It's very possible they already know, but they just haven't told the audience yet. 18 years prior to the series, Blast was also the sole person who arrived to save Tatsumaki from a monster when she was left for dead by Tsukuyomi scientists. Knowing that she had psychic abilities, he wondered why she didn't use them to at least defend herself. Adding that she shouldn't expect someone to save her really wasn't necessary though. It unintentionally created an unwavering independence in her that causes friction in all of her relationships, family, friends, and colleagues. Blast probably only wanted to keep her safe in case heroes couldn't always make it in time. But between then and his fight with Elder Centipede, where was Blast? Honestly, he could have been traveling the universe for all we know, but he was likely doing his interdimensional duties, making sure that God doesn't enter our reality once again. But let's get back to the Elder Centipede incident. 2 years before the series began, Blast had a pretty intense fight with Elder Centipede that left the monster running for its life. Even years later, the creature holds a grudge against Blast for the damage he was able to cause. I'm guessing it never had to face such a formidable hero before. Likely, the only thing that saved Elder Centipede back then was God intervening in the fight. If not for the distraction, the Centipede wouldn't have lived long enough to cause so much destruction. At that time, Blast had only told Sitch of the God entity and kept it a secret from everyone else. But let's move forward to things we've seen in the anime. The first time Blast is mentioned is during an S-Class meeting, and it's because he's absent as usual. I'm sure some of the other high-ranked heroes don't even believe he exists because he's never around, and we can assume that they've never seen him. Well, besides Tatsumaki, of course. And Sitch is the only one in contact with Blast, and even he's in the dark about where or what Blast is doing most of the time. But you'd think a ship full of aliens destroying entire cities would be enough to get Blast involved, but no, not even that. In the Monster Association arc, the Hero Association staff is unhappy with Blast's lack of involvement when things are getting serious. Maybe as a reflection of us as fans. Later on, when Drive Knight questioned Second Gar if the Hero Association headquarters being destroyed would be enough to draw out Blast, Second Gar claims that Blast is retired, indicating that even he doesn't know what Sitch does about the hunt for cubes. But there are a lot of people who reminisce about Blast during this arc, and it helps them to keep pushing forward. At an unknown time in Amai Mask's youth, it's implied that he was saved by Blast and encouraged him to follow in his footsteps. Thinking of that moment saves the people around Amai Mask on the surface, since he considers killing everyone after his trauma from Free or Ugly. This memory still has yet to be revisited for Amai Mask, but it's very possible that this was God impersonating Blast, which we're going to be talking about a little later on, although that's not confirmed yet. While underground, Saitama comes across a cube while trying to free Flashy Flash from the debris. And as they look directly at the God being as he's curled up in a ball, seemingly in another dimension, but can't see because of how dark it is, that's an immediate hint that Blast is not far behind. When the entity starts speaking to them, Blast shows up to take the cube, glad he arrived in time to prevent them from answering what the God was saying and offering. This is also the first time that we see Blast in real time in the series, as well as getting a hint of what his true skills are, as he dodges Flashy Flash like nothing, and appears through what looks like a small black hole. In true hero fashion, he also allows a monster, Monako, to be with them, so long as she's not evil. Then opens a portal for the surface, not mentioning that it involves space-time control to function. It's also interesting that he tells them to say hi to Tatsumaki and Sitch, and shows no interest in the events going on with the monster executives above. After so many battles were hard fought, finally Blast and his portal appear, dropping off Flashy and Saitama like luggage. This probably means that he knew nothing too world-ending would have happened earlier that needed his participation. And at the same time, Blast tags along, even after telling them to pass on his greetings. But I guess he had no choice once he realized the play that God was trying to do for the S-Class heroes like Tatsumaki. He was busy in his portal while God impersonated Blast himself, trying to fool Tatsumaki into accepting her influence, which is why he didn't arrive right away. After she rejects it, Blast is proud that she saw through the false version that God created to try and recruit her. If only he knew it was because of his advice about not expecting help from others. He leaves her to King while he jumps back through and rejoins his team at his post. It's not long before that he has to come back though. Blast and some dimensional being sense danger on Earth, caused by Garou and Saitama's clash. Not that they immediately know the details. The team has to repair what the effects have done to keep the God entity away. Blast shows up later in the confrontation and notices that Garou's been given part of the entity's power, and reveals what his radioactive body will do to all living creatures on the planet, realizing that they'll soon be overloaded from the nuclear power in them. The second time Genos is faced with Garou, when it matters most, Blast reacts too late, and Genos is basically turned off permanently. Moments later, he tries to warn Saitama not to come too close, seeing as some heroes have died from their radiation already, but Saitama doesn't listen. Saitama is, of course, immune to this, the way that Blast is, but in a different way, just because, Saitama is Saitama. As they begin a serious brawl with world-ending attacks, just in time to save the planet from complete annihilation, Blast teleports the two far away. It's both to avoid their clashing, causing even more deaths than Garou's radiation already has, and to save everyone else completely unaware of the imminent destruction. Evidently, Blast's power isn't enough to contain them both. It was already struggling against Garou alone, and now Garou's copying Saitama's Sirius series. So Blast has to rely on 3 cosmic friends to help teleport them away, one of which looks like the same race as Boros, but that's a story for another time. After all is said and done, Blast, like everyone else, loses knowledge of all of the events that transpired after Saitama returned to the past to undo the damage. So I think it's safe to say that he'll be underestimating Saitama again for a while. Well, at least for a couple chapters. Later on in the Psychic Sisters arc, though not there in person, Tatsumaki again dreams of Blast, and hopes that he's proud of how strong she's become since the first time he saved her. This is after she passes out from using too much energy while fighting Saitama. Maybe one day Blast will address this flaw that he's left with her. Then later in the ninja arc, unexpectedly Blast is at the New Hero Association building when Saitama and Flashy Flash come looking for him. He's speaking with Sitch at this time. Before they get down to business, Flashy tries to get the jump on Blast again with, of course, no results. But he admits that there's a connection between the ninja village and God, leaving cubes everywhere. He warns Flashy that the village leader has been revived and will make a move soon. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Ninja Party tries to recruit Sonic to help kill Flashy Flash and Blast in that order. This is because 15 years ago, Blast and the ninja leader had a battle that left the latter in a coma, which is why it's a big deal that he's now waking up. The village's purpose was to create warriors for God, and Blast points out that if Flashy had become one, it would have been the worst outcome. He also tells Flashy to stay away so that he can settle things himself. In a flashback, we see that there's one of God's devices in the village before Flashy killed everyone. Even so, Blast understands that Flashy poisoned Sonic in hopes that he would survive, maybe, but also so that he wouldn't have to kill him directly like he did the others. In this new timeline, Blast meets Genos for the first time, and Genos tells him to ask Saitama if he needs help with anything, which I think he doesn't take seriously. Later on, Blast discusses with Sitch about how he's hiding that God is controlling Empty Void, and that's why he was doing evil in the past. He even reveals how Void was in a village similar to the one God created to train minions, with him being the sole survivor. The plan is to get Void free so that they can fight God together instead, but Void has a special barrier and won't be found again if he uses it, so Blast has to be careful coming after him. Just at the right time, Blast interrupts the all-out fight between the Tenito members and Sonic and Flash, easily stopping and redirecting any attack that continues after he steps between them. Thankfully, Rover led Blast to the fight after sniffing the challenge letter that Sonic gave to Flashy Flash, as he didn't want them to all kill each other over a man being controlled by God's powers. So what we're learning is that Blast really only ever gets involved if it has something to do with God. The ninjas warn Blast that Void has gotten even more powerful and has killed over 100,000 people in total, likely due to the effects of God. But Blast doesn't seem surprised and actually just wants to share that Saitama off-screened Empty Void in one punch as per usual. And it was only because he found an old challenge letter from Sonic to pinpoint the location. Then the sky starts to tear open with Blast realizing it's his fault for not keeping an eye on things as he usually does. With God's beasts coming through to attack them, this is where we see why he passed on the belief that heroes have to be strong enough to do everything themselves. The divine beasts who work directly under the God entity have a beam off with Rover, but Saitama takes it personally and attacks them. At the same time, Blast notices smoke coming from Void still underground. When he leaps out to slice up the beasts while joining forces with Blast, Blast then forcibly pushes the Divine Beast back and shuts the gate they came through, glad to see his companion back to his old self. In a rare show of emotion, Blast rushes to his friend, happy to see him back to his senses, but Sonic attacks, because why not? Blast has to stop their blades when they get too serious, finally explaining why the village head was the way that he had been in the past and all the mistreatment that they went through. Afterwards, Blast realizes that he hasn't been strong enough to remove God's influence once he has a hold of someone. But twice, Saitama could punch it out of people, being controlled so that they could go back to normal. That's enough for Blast to request that Saitama help him in the final battle against God, considering his feats and how he's able to overcome the entity's control. And he leaves with Void to continue keeping the planet safe from its influence in the dimension between space-time, with the other members of Blast's team that we've seen previously. Once they arrive at their post, not only is one of the Divine Beasts dead, but Blast knows exactly who did it with a smirk, seeing as Saitama had knocked it down on the way to getting to Sonic's hideout. Now, aside from this, the only other moment mentioning Blast so far is through Blue, his son who leads the Neo Heroes, who is currently the direct competition for the Hero Association. But we haven't had confirmation about this relation since Blast himself hasn't appeared to see this son, nor is he around to deny being his parent. But also, when would Blast have had time to have a child while also fighting God for the past 20 years? And the fact that Blue isn't a part of the Hero Association when his father is, makes it seem like the relationship is likely strained at best. Now, however, in a previously retconned version of the Ninja arc, it's revealed that the sister of Empty Void is in fact Blue's mother. But like I said, this was retconned, so we don't know if one is going to decide to use this in the story going forward. But for now, we still have to just question if Blast is truly Blue's father, which he probably is. Now that aside, unless the God entity does something again that interacts with the S-Class heroes or with the Neo heroes, I don't think Blast will get involved though. He seems to not care about city-level threats and focuses solely on those that threaten the human species as a whole. Not to mention that he's just too strong to be involved in the story all the time, since it would just be him and Saitama cleaning up everything and the rest of the heroes just farting around. But for now, that is the story of Blast. He is by far the strongest S-Class hero and easily one of the strongest characters in the series, period. He will undoubtedly have a huge role in the story going forward, but we're just going to have to wait for that since it's likely just going to be endgame stuff from this point on, which won't happen for many years from now. In fact, Blast hasn't even been fully revealed in the webcomic yet. All of this stuff has just been manga exclusive. So let me know what you think about Blast in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.